Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me today to talk about today's interesting topic, FDA expectation for 505(b)(2) regulatory pathways. I have very interesting experience, for the for the couple of years, for the past couple of years, the real case dealing with the products, on the 505J, 505(b)(2), and I will share a very interesting case. One of them was a 14 drug device combination, products, and another one is ANDA products. But once we understand the regulatory pathway, especially for NDAs and then ANDA, it becomes very important these days, depending upon how you approach. You may engage in totally different regulatory pathways. So it is important to understand the regulatory requirements. So it is my special pleasure today to talk about 505(b)(2). This is my general disclaimer for your own review, but the entire content of my presentation not intended to be all inclusive. In other words, even though I have tried to put together the best content for today's presentation purposes, you may have expected something that I address. If that's not, if that's the case, then please raise any question during Q&A session, and I will be happy to address any of your questions. Today we are going to cover some key important information, starting with laws and regulations, some definitions, and the regulatory requirements for 505(b)(2), and differences between traditional NDA and NDA under 505(b)(2), and some of the FDA requirements and examples. So I like to briefly talk about the legislation that I listed in your slide. Well, we know that before 1906, there were no regulation in the U.S. For human drugs, and then 1906, the Food and Drugs Act was enacted after serious tragic events. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, we generally refer to it as FFDCA or FDCA, was enacted in 1938, requiring safety. And then some years later, 1962, the Cafivo-Harris Amendment Act was added, amending FDCA, requiring safety and effectiveness. And then 1984, I think that, if you can write in your slide, I recommend you write 1984. There is a, Hatch-Waxman Act that was enacted, amending FDCA. Well, Hatch-Waxman is important in terms of generics. Although we are not talking about generics, but it's important to know that there was Hatch-Waxman Act that was intended to encourage innovation in pharmaceutical research and development, and to help genetic drug entry. So basically making the market entry quicker in terms of genetic products. But then 1997 FDA Modernization Act, enabling PDUFA, Prescription Drug User Fee Act, and then FDAAA,